Namaste, namaste, precious souls. Welcome to February, Book of Life. Today we will be reading Fourth Degree, Lesson 6, The Light Beyond the Sun. Summerland. Once one departs the earth scene, each soul goes to his or her own level. There is no power in the universe that compels one to dwell in the lower regions who has not fitted oneself to go there. Nor is there any power that can exclude one from heaven if he or she has evolved to the point of dwelling there in comfort, concerned with one's own continued spiritual growth and with loving others with an open heart. No one enters the realm of Sutherland until he or she has attained the spiritual consciousness to experience at one-ment with the conditions of light and joy and peace. Heaven merges into hell and hell into heaven, just as the Earth city of Los Angeles, California, merges into the neighboring community of Hollywood with no arbitrary division. There are a million imperceptible gradations between heaven and hell and between Borderland and Summerland. Certainly, there is no great chasm existing between the two. No sentence is passed upon lowlander John Smith that he must remain a lowlander. Why doesn't everyone live on the highest plane? Lowlander John Smith may often visit the highlands attempting to dwell therein, but he shall not be able to breathe comfortably, nor feel at ease in the higher light. His own inner growth will demand that he return to the environment with which he is inwardly harmonious. There, he will continue to perform his services for others, his studies, his inner growth. His movements upward will proceed as gradually as the inner light unfolds. Borderland and Summerland have a million crisscrossing paths with homes and valleys and cities in between. The only law binding one to any particular level is the law of fitness. When a lowlander, through the development of his or her own inner light, can dwell comfortably in a more elevated atmosphere, there is no one to forbid movement upward. It is a matter of personal attainment. It remains for the people of earth to learn this law concerning the unity between all of life. On earth, one discovers one has gone beyond a city's boundaries when you see the sign saying city limits. By this alone do you know you have passed beyond the specified borderline of the city. Hell, purgatory, lowlands, highlands, Summerland, paradise. None of these planes is so specifically divided. You discover you have left a certain sphere or city only by awareness of your own personal comfort or discomfort. The fish has leaped out of the water and is trying to exist on land. The lowlander has departed the lowlands and cannot breathe in the rare ethers of the next gradation. Instead of a sign designated city limits, there is a sign inside lowlander John Smith, which says, John Smith, soul limits. He can only move to the next plateau as his soul is able to bear the influence of brighter light and the more divine rays. Each soul is measured by his or her soul limits, and every step upward implies not only an added inner capacity, but a heightened sense of spirituality along with it. There are innumerable ways that the individual soul prepares itself for the gradual ascension. Not only does it come from a full realization that its only method of progress is through service combined with self-respect and esteem for all life, it also learns of its own spiritual unawareness and begins to train its spiritual faculties. Am I not able indeed to promote thee to honor? Graduations. When one has achieved one's promotion to a higher plane, a joyous assemblage gathers for the occasion. Those who depart will by no means be leaving their friends, since no love ties will be severed. There is no feeling of grief or sorrow as people on earth experience when a loved one graduates from the scenes of Etheria. In such a gathering, a sense of joy prevails, an eager anticipation, yet no sense of jealousy. The bond of deep affection enables those who ascend to guide those left behind and to assist them on their own ascent in due time. A great one from a higher plane descends to direct the ceremony. but his or her lecture is delivered without a word spoken. Those who are not yet ready to ascend catch no sound, while those who are hear the speaker's thoughts clairaudiently. They hear their names called, while the colors of their robes change subtly under the influence of descending scented dew. They bid farewell to friends and loved ones, promising to return often. Then in one vast assemblage they depart for their new homes on some higher land. Those left behind express only joy for the fortunate graduates. As for themselves, even though they are not yet ready to ascend, they have felt a mighty benediction simply being in the presence of the Great One. Psychic development. Persons on Earth engage in group meetings of various types, some known as psychic development classes, some as meditation groups, others as sensitivity training, yoga classes, and similar designations. Each of these is merely the outer expression of soul seeking attunement to finer spiritual vibrations and a heightened sense of psychic awareness. Why is a temple holy? The same type of training exists over there. Those who desire to do so attend training sessions to become psychically attuned to higher planes and higher intelligences. Training is conducted in special temples designed for this purpose. Such a temple is holy by its very vibrations. Various methods are employed to help the individual sharpen psychic awareness and unfold spiritual perception. Just as people attempt to develop clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, psychometry, trance states, visionary perception, so do many in Summerland and Midland and in all other spheres. Those yet dwelling in borderland are usually less interested in such achievements. They are generally quite content to dwell just as they did on earth. Many continue to live uneventful lives, doing little harm and little good. Thus, they exist until they incarnate again for another experience in matter. Those who attain the higher planes become aware that there are still higher potentials. And with that awareness, there develops an aspiration to unfold and express those potentials. As one begins the gradual ascent into higher realms, incomparable experiences reward the pilgrim. Each sphere is more transcendently beautiful than the one just departed. The scenery is often beyond earth expression. When one tends to believe she has reached the ultimate, a new vista of marvels always opens. Those who seek to unfold higher sense perceptions frequently see visions of invisible worlds to come. Unfoldment invokes two reactions. One is exhilarating. The desire to attain the heights is always aroused. The other is depressing, that there is such an illimitable universe, always and forever stretching before the pilgrim. Depression does not linger, for with such visions comes the anticipation of experiencing it. Those in Summerland are very aware of myriad spheres of light further on. They behold visions of lights that shimmer and dazzle and radiate like oceans of living electricity. The higher one ascends, the more one becomes aware that truly God is light. Messengers and the spheres of the great beyondness find it necessary to place a veil over their radiance so that the eyes of the pilgrim or lower spheres can behold him at all. Nor is such brightness for mortal eyes. Mortals, like Paul, too often must be struck blind by the dazzling brilliance before the impact of its reality is fully grasped. Some people declare that there could not possibly be spiritual worlds surrounding them simply because they cannot see them. Where are they? They will inquire. I do not see them, thus they cannot be. But guide such a one to touch a clear plate glass door, and he becomes readily convinced that it is possible for something to be present without being seen. Somebody in here? The time for dreams comes true. In our preceding lessons, we considered hell, purgatory, and highland, the high astral, and Summerland. Now we turn more fully to Summerland, where most of us will dwell the longest over there. A surprising number of fundamentalist Christians are firmly convinced that as they enter the gates of heaven, an angel usher stands ready to place harps in their eager hands, instructing them that for all eternity their sole occupation will be to sing the praises of our heavenly parent. This might be well and good for those who are skilled at playing the harp, but for the raucous din made by the remaining millions would send our long-suffering heavenly parent fleeing for a secret exit. As with hell, heaven is many things to many people. Even the troubled soul who descends first to hell eventually experiences some glimpses of causal paradise. Though this causal heaven plane is the true home of the soul, one becomes conscious of one's surroundings only to the degree that one has created an awareness of perfection in one's being while incarnated in the world of matter. How is paradise gained? If one gave no thought to the soul, never climbed the mountaintops of meditation, spent no time in pure devotion, then one's awareness of this causal level will be much like that of an infant on our earth plane. One's harvest of bliss will be meager. On the other hand, those who sought the light of understanding and wisdom, expressed reverence and love for the divine, spent hours in meditation, passed from death into paradise. The teeming millions lie between these two extremes. Comparatively, few descend into the darkest depths of hell, and few ascend directly into paradise. Most linger a while in borderland, a longer time in highland, and a very long period in summerland, after which the soul ascends into paradise, the pure causal regions of real heaven. It is from this causal plane that the soul passes downward again through the planes seeking rebirth, having usually experienced little of life in our true causal heaven. Since Summerland, the realm of the lower mental plane, is the heaven most of us will dwell upon the longest, it is this plane to which we usually refer when we speak of heaven in general. Where is Summerland? Summerland touches the beautiful places on earth, but there is a difference. Summerland is dominated by thought power, as is hell. Thus, the spots of beauty on earth do not necessarily represent a focal point for a beautiful overshadowing spot of heaven, since many beautiful homes on earth house minds and souls which are less than good. A suggestion. A star's classification of the divisions in the planes of life over there may differ from a classification you've read or studied at some other time. Remember that different personal backgrounds produce different viewpoints of the same teachings. Our suggestion is that you look for similarities rather than differences, and that you keep in mind the thought that Astara attempts to provide a composite picture which includes three viewpoints. The mystical, because most Astarians are of advanced learning in the field of mysticism, or are at least of open and receptive mind. The spiritual, because Astarians are seekers of spiritual understanding and the spiritual way of life. And finally, the viewpoint based on love as the magnetic factor which governs personal relationships, both human and divine. Heaven descends to earth only where a beautiful mind creates a focal point. It ascends upward beyond the scope of one's physical perception. Summerland is a world in which thought force molds life force. That which we think upon comes into being. To a degree, we all become creators. We learn the true creative power of mind. Our very forms grow nobler or coarser according to our created image of perfection. The wonders that Etherians have beheld and returned to tell about defy description. Visions of beauty, sounds, and colors are beyond our poor powers of perception. So vast are many of the mansions that almost become cities in themselves. So glorious are their splendors that we can well understand why one biblical writer describes such a city as heaven itself, with gates of pearl and streets of gold. Some say such descriptions appeal only to the material senses, but how else describe a radiance so dazzling as to be beyond our words? How else but to compare with our own pearls and our most exquisite gold? Would it be better to omit the comparisons and leave each to imagine the light to oneself? No. It is better to paint a word picture, however meagerly it describes the incomparable. Otherwise, it remains vaporous and unreal. Is the law of cause and effect confined only to the physical plane? Summerland is as natural as a state of human existence to its residents as is life on earth to us. The universal system of cause and effect is more easily perceived. Beauty greets the eye everywhere. Over there, one does not stand and look off into the horizon as we do here on earth. One looks instead at vast plateau upon plateau, each seeming to rest upon ascending mountaintops, with the light becoming more luminous as one's gaze ascends. Could one look downward, one could also trace the dimming of the light as the spheres become less luminous. The barriers between these plateaus are indiscernible. One simply becomes aware of the magnetic waves which repel pilgrims on lower planes from entering higher. Those who have taken care to develop their clairvoyance see further into the lighted spheres than others and can pierce the dimness of the lower spheres. Have you ever felt a building's vibration? Those with highly developed clairsentience not only are able to behold visions of other spheres around them, buildings, houses, landscapes, but are also able, by structuring and studying a structure, to understand the character of its builder. No imagined fairyland could ever equal the glories of such realms. People, indeed, who write fairy tales of fairylands must have caught a glimpse of the landscapes, the buildings, the wonder of these incomparable estates. Flowers bloom beyond one's capacity to describe, nor are they seasonal. There are many that earth has never known. The petals of the flowers glow with light, some soft, others flashing. The flowers almost seem to be jewels. Petals of the lilies resemble pure pearl. Leaves of foliage glisten and sparkle like tiny crystals and diamonds as they sway gently in a breeze that carries soft, low tones of music over the hills and valleys. Each region or city seems to be pervaded by its own particular hint or hue. Over one hangs a mist, bathing all within a golden radiance. Over another lingers a faint luminous pink. Blue over another, a soft violet over another. Each color has meaning and purpose, reflecting the activity and spiritual level of its inhabitants. Homes and landscapes in Sutherland. Describe the scenes and activities of Summerland more fully, we begged of Burton, for we never quite seem to become saturated with hearing of his life there. And again he answered, landscapes stretch away on every side, dressed in more shades of color than people can ever estimate or describe. The whole of it seems to be an infinite and vaulted dome of eternal energy, baptized in an indiscernible life force. Describe it? Astarion, give rein to your wildest fantasies. Let imagination conjure all you would dare to crave. Picture heaven at its very highest and best. Revel among the anticipations you expect to find, and then multiply the whole of it 1,000 times. Perhaps by so doing, the Astarion may grasp the concept. But perhaps you will only at best have caught a faint reflection of the reality of Summerland Astara. As the pilgrim here gazes at picturesque plains and plateaus, you become aware that every hill and dale, lake and stream, terrace, park, garden, palace, and mansion, each contribute toward the grandeur of the scene. Every flower, tree, rock, every stream and lake holds its place in the legitimate balance of the beauty. Every homestead gleams resplendent in the shadowless light. None are cramped in detail to suit the limitations of space as often happens on earth, nor are any robbed of beauty by the use of coarse materials or restrictions such as storm windows, which destroy or curtail the architectural dream on earth. For there need to be no shield against tempest or decay. Each habitation has its own terraces and gardens in magnificent proportions. Where earthly homes are constructed of wood and brick and stucco, in Astara, they seem to be of coral, marble, alabaster, jasper, garnished occasionally by sapphire, ruby, emerald, pearl, and amethyst. Some of the habitations boast cravings and sculpture never seen on earth. The pilgrim's mind might rightfully catch a memory of the 100-gated Thebes of ancient Egypt, the gardens of old Babylon, or the sanctuary of Apollo, Venus, and Athena, which won the admiration of all Greece. But none of these, in their greatest glory, reflect such glories as Summerland Astara. Throughout the entire scene, there seems to lie a serenity and peace seldom witnessed among Earth's anxious, distraught millions. Earth's multitudes rush to and fro. Anxiety sits upon the brow of some, fear upon others. In this heavenly scene, however, there is quiet contentment, exhibiting an aura of reverence as if one stood upon hallowed ground. Homes have many open walls. Rather, it should be said, many lack walls altogether, possessing porticos held by columns of a substance resembling ivory. Many buildings boast majestic domes. The eye catches an occasional glint as if fresh dew has fallen among the grasses. The landscapes of Summerland Astara seem all to be bathed in a soft, shimmering radiance. There is peace, there is joy, there is laughter. These are people who are self-realized. They have not ascended to these heights easily. Their struggles have been many, their sufferings long. They have learned the lesson of love and how to live in the midst of it. There is usually an extensive garden surrounding every home or building, even though there was no such garden around the home on earth. These gardens exhibit the most perfect order. They display no tangled foliage needing attention. There is only a profusion of the most glorious array of color. Many blossoms and vines bear a similarity to those on earth. Some differ completely. All are superbly radiant. All exude a flow of vital life force, subtle but unmistakable. There are expanses of verdant grass creating wide lawns and groves. Paths are often composed of grasses, soft as velvet beneath the feet. Unlike earth, the grasses spring back with a remarkable resilience once the feet have pressed them, never becoming trampled, never dry, never scorched, but always exquisite. Trees resemble those on earth, yet the foliage is more splendid. Leaves are in the brilliant colors associated with autumn on earth. They experience cycles of indrawing energy and expressing it, the cosmic ebb and flow, blossom and bear fruit. Yet leaves do not fall and decay. Those which blossom are always in resplendent array. The earth's sun never glares here. The light of its spiritual counterpart never sets, however. Its rays diffuse an ethereal light and warmth which dispels all shadows and all bleakness. In Summerland Astara, homes are usually set among trees, gardens, woodlands, groves. Everyone residing here is reaping the harvest of seeds sown on earth. These are happy homes of happy people. Everything here has been won by beautiful past deeds. Thus, Astarians always find a home awaiting them, built to the specifications of their earthly deeds. The actual building is erected by loved ones and friends who have previously entered Summerland. Often it is constructed by souls who were architects, masons, builders on earth, and who follow the same occupation in Summerland, but who no longer build with hammer and nail. In training classes, They have learned how to raise up a structure mentally, holding the ethers of their sphere into solid substance and establishing it along the lines of the earthly home. Building is not only the chosen occupation of many, it is also a service of pleasure. The only pay for such services is the spiritual reward. Others equally serve in other fields. No one works for pay, but each for the joy of working and serving. Once homes and gardens are created, incessant toil is not required. There is no dust, no decay. Midst the splendor of Summerlin Dastara, earth's fairest scenes pale into significance. As far as the eye can see, all is bathed in a soft, iridescent hue, plain upon plain and mountain upon mountain. As terraces ascend, one above the other, the brilliance increases, each ascension a gallery of holiness. Those who dwell on lower lands are often brought by guides and teachers to glimpse this majesty for two reasons. One, so the pilgrim will not become too satisfied with their present level, thinking it to be the highest heaven. And two, to arouse within the viewer a desire to reach for the heaven lands through love, the building of self-esteem, and service to others. Some buildings are elaborately ornate. Some are unfurbished, unembellished. Usually, there are no doors to close out heaven, only soft falling draperies through which the light penetrates, gauze-like, moving gently in the breezes. Every article of furnishing and decor relates in some mysterious manner to the resident who dwells within. Pictures on the walls often reflect the record of one's earth accomplishments, the victories, the quiet act of service. Spiritual hierarchy. There is a danger of being misunderstood when describing a seeming hierarchy of people and their relative merits and rewards upon spiritual planes of life. It is important to address this issue. Consider for a moment the groupings of persons on earth: racial, male, female, geographic, national, political, financial, ideological, educational, social, religious, family, vocational, are merely a few of the possible groupings. Each of these communities are all interrelated, united by a bond of divine light, shared by all and within all. The greater the number of groups which two or more persons hold in common, the more are their lives intertwined. In the spiritual domain, the same holds true, except that the former earthly subdivisions tend to diminish in importance and often to disappear. All of us are spiritual equals, children of the divine source. As Brian Weiss, author of the book Many Lives, Many Masters, has stated so well, each of us possess the same diamond of spiritual inheritance in our hearts. All are equal. No one deserves a larger or smaller diamond than anyone else. The only difference between us is that some have done the work to polish more facets of this diamond than have others. This has no connection to class, race, gender, culture, nationality, and so on. This work is done through spiritual study, meditation, or other spiritual practice, opening one's heart to the unity of all life and to respect for nature, working to overcome injustice, discrimination, judgment, and intolerance in oneself and in society, working to build one's sense of self-worth and serving others. So, some diamonds are dimmer than others, brighter, but all are really the same, and all do gravitate to the same divine place as we each work to polish the diamond of spirit we have been given. So, when we speak of one being more highly evolved than the other, or on a higher plane than the other, we do not mean one is worth more, only that one has done more spiritual work. And it is important to remember that the one who thinks he or she is above all the rest usually has a great deal to learn from one who seems to be beneath that person in any way. The truly spiritual person or soul is the one who fully understands the equality and unity between us all, and who works to do away with hierarchy through serving others. Havens of rest. We have been taught about a building known as a rehabilitation center, we told Burton. Can you describe it for us? Answer. Among the magnificent buildings in Astral Astara, there is one called the Haven of Rest. It is a rehabilitation station devoted only to Astarians. Astarians who experience either a lingering illness or a sudden death are taken there as soon as the silver cord is severed. Some are aware of loving attendants. Some are in a state of deep sleep. Here, the Astarian pilgrim is tended by Zoser and Astolea, or their deputies, doctors or teachers well schooled in the care of souls in shock or in a debilitated state. While in this sleeping state, words of wisdom and comfort are whispered to reach the mind and heart before awakening, to shield the soul from unnecessary shock. Dreams and visions of bliss are thrown in upon the consciousness, as well as teachings concerning death and ongoing in etheria. This softly tinted building is set upon the crest of a hill overlooking verdant valleys of grass, flowers, woodlands. Each room is open to a majestic view, downpouring shafts of colored lights descending from the higher spheres fill the entire estate with healing rays. In the gardens are loved ones and friends waiting to be called at the first stirring of returning consciousness. Thus, they are by the side of the Astarian when he or she first opens their eyes to behold heaven and to be told of their graduation. Families reunited in recognition. The comfort of knowing someone is in the waiting room who loves us. Shall we meet our loved ones again? And if so, shall we readily recognize them after so many years of separation and all the changes? Will we be the same to them, grown old? How changed will they be? Will the baby have matured? Will the elderly be youthful again? How shall we recognize the people we love? Will the prophecy of Longfellow prove true? Not as a child shall we again behold her, for when with raptures wild in our embraces we again enfold her, she will not be a child, but a fair maiden in her father's mansion, clothed with celestial grace, and beautiful with all the soul's expansion shall we behold her face. Or will the plea of the mother who answered his prophecy be realized? Oh, say not so. How shall I know, my darling, if changed her form and veiled with shining hair? If, since her flight has grown by my starling, how shall I know her there? On memory's page, by viewless fingers painted, I see the features of my angel child. She passed away ere vice her life had tainted, passed to the undefiled. Oh, say not so, for I would clasp her, even as when below she lay upon my breast. I would dream of her as a bud in heaven, amid the blossoms blessed. My little one, she was a folded lily, sweeter than any on the azure wave. But night came down, a starless night and chilly, alas, we could not save. Yes, as a child, serene and noble poet, oh, heaven were dark, were children wanting there. I hope to clasp my bud as when I wore it, a dimpled baby fair. Though years have flown toward my blue-eyed daughter, my heart yearns ofttimes with a mother's love. Its never-dying tendrils now enfold her, e'en as a babe, my little dove-eyed daughter, nestle and coo upon my heart again. Wait for thy mother by the river water, it shall not be in vain. Wait as a child, how shall I know my darling, if changed of form and veiled with shining hair? If, since her flight has grown my little starling, how shall I know her there? Which shall it be, we asked Burton, If in God's heaven all shall be satisfied, what will be the divine solution to this age-old question? And Burton answered, God has mercifully provided an answer to this universal prayer. Astarion, cease your fears. Spouses, partners, parent and child, sister and sister, brother and brother, friend and friend, all meet again after the interval of parting. Though they may have often met during the hours of earthly sleep, they meet now with a full consciousness that they are forever beyond the parting. Hands rudely torn apart are now clasped again. Eyes now feast upon those who once appeared in visions, who guided them through subliminal awareness. Ears that once strained to hear the mother's voice now openly rejoice. Tongues long silent with unspoken sorrow now sing songs of gratitude. Arms long empty with loneliness now close in the rapt embrace of love. As for a parent and a baby, when first the eyes behold the long-lost love, there flashes between the two souls a mutual blending of recognition. The fountain of memory opens. Instantly, the parent remembers that during the long years, the hours of sleep life were spent in watching the child unfold to beautiful maturity. The years of her childhood, her puberty, her young youth, all have unfolded under the tender care of the parent. Though the precious hours were beyond conscious recall, they all flood back like a tidal wave of memory, and the mother or father clasps the child this time with the sure knowledge that they need part no more. The silver cord is broken, and the tears are dried. The soul possesses many happy secrets it would whisper to your eager ears if only you could open the floodgates of remembrance and let them enter. God gives the secrets, but people build barriers that will not let them in. God cannot measure truth to fit humankind's smallness. It is humankind who must expand to embrace truth. It has always been thus. The sure reward of those who hold fast. The Master Jesus said, seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. And it is true. Those who seek diligently for truth find it. Those who believe in spiritual reunion during sleep life will persist in trying to remember until they succeed. In considering family reunions in Etheria, it must be remembered that with maturity, the souls involved often develop individual opinions, tastes, dispositions, habits, culture that would make sharing a home undesirable. Often, a family may establish a compound with the homes of various family members encircling a common landscape. Thus, they are near, yet dwelling apart in different homes. Many imagine that the reunion of a family is the common ideal of heaven, but reunion can mean many things. To reunite under one roof may no longer be what is desired or is best for all those involved. Usually, each soul has its own separate abode. Considering, too, the various temperaments, spiritual developments, and personal tastes, it becomes reasonable to see that a family can reunite without becoming a family as earth understands. When it becomes clear that each soul dwells upon the spiritual level that secures his or her well-being, then no sorrow results even when loved ones abide in different homes. Even those on higher planes come and go freely to those on lesser planes, so the reunion is complete without there being a uniting. Every soul arriving in Etheria has, by his or her earth life, become self-conditioned, and God has provided a place for one accordingly. However, the members of a family who can dwell together happily and who prefer to certainly may do so. On earth, blood relationships establish families. In heaven, a higher law abides. Kinship is lifted into spiritual bonds. Souls drawn together by the law of spiritual attraction become friends and companions. Twin souls find each other. forming group units. Such as these are drawn together in a communion which earth's friendships only faintly shadow. But soul groups, acting and reacting upon each other, ultimately become one great family united with the divine spirit, where the law of affinity is supreme. Pure affection, whether between members of a family or not, is an attribute of the spirit. Such ties can never be put asunder. Associations made with those we call our friends, loved ones, acquaintances, continue in etheria if the relationship is harmonious. When there ceases to be any kind of compatibility, the contact between two particular persons diminishes, and they find themselves seeing less and less of each other. The soul's dweller on the threshold. This is even true of erratic members of an earthly family. They may all remain together or near each other on the same plane, progressing gradually all together, or one may drift apart because he or she does not find harmony with the family group. New acquaintances may take the place of old. Friends of earth may cease to be friends in etheria. The law of vibration governs all relationships. It is usual for people to group together according to their talents and common interests. Let us say, for instance, that one member of a family is completely involved in music, in composing, and in playing. It may be that soul will depart his or her family group and make a home among a group of like-minded physicians or musicians. This is not to say that this soul may be on a higher or lower sphere than his or her family, nor is it to say that she or he will not frequently visit them. It is simply that she or he will find greater harmony living among musicians, much as a son or daughter leaves home on earth to find employment in another city or another part of the city. Then, too, there must ultimately come that time when Earth's last picture is painted, when our entire life wave has completed its rounds and the last soul stands ready to graduate into the light. Heaven completed, every group, every family, every circle perfected, every prayer answered, every soul saved. Who can envision such glory? Earth can only end when the last of her children are gathered home to the heart of the divine spirit. This has been the divine labor of love, to guide us through change after change, transformation following transformation, from glory to greater glory, until we have attained our spiritual maturity. Then shall we see every bond of love completed as the universal family of humankind finds its appointed place in the infinite being's eternal design. And there is the fourth degree lesson 6. And we will pick up in a couple of weeks in the vestibule of heaven, fourth degree lesson 7. So let us, since it is February, we will end on blessing, the blessing of the February blessing in the meditation. So go ahead and just be in a receptive pose. Place the tip of the tongue on the palate and just be nice and relaxed. To all those that we have invoked to. Because of your thoughtfulness, the light of life shines the brighter in other lives. May your own path be more luminous because of it. May the great light of the infinite be upon you and in you and shine through you in all you do. And the affirming meditation. As we go about our daily tasks, as we use the treasure of time entrusted to our care, help us be a good shepherd, a good steward. Help us fill our days not only with effort and ingenuity, but with love and consideration. And may this manifest on all levels. Tatatsu, tatatsu, tatatsu. Okay, have a beautiful morning, day, night, wherever you are. And we'll see you tomorrow for blessing the prayer petitions, the Tuesday prayer petition blessings. Namaste, precious, precious souls. Be very well. And thank you so, so much for joining us. Take care. Bye.